We're now going to hear from Richard Breiman. Richard is a retired academic radiologist from UCSF and I believe Stanford, and lives in Alamo, which is in the East Bay area. Richard has been collecting maps for many years, and he likes a whole variety of maps, especially colored maps and maps which have interesting vignettes. He also has a significant collection of maps which he showed earlier in one of the other Zooms on Captain Cook's travels, and you can see that on the digital gallery also. Go ahead, Richard. Richard?
Yeah, hold on. I might need to help unmute him. Just a sec. Let me just hold on.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Okay. Yep. Great.
Thank you, Len. I am showing, actually, let me explain why I'm showing two etchings. And this is actually the second one. Can you go to the, yeah, this is the first one.
Sorry about that.
These are, let me explain before you start lobbing in virtual Rotten Tomatoes. For me showing two etchings at a Map Society meeting. But these are recent acquisitions of mine. Very proud. I've been searching for these for years, and they are by an old master French printmaker from the mid-17th century, Abraham Boss. And I was showing these to my colleagues, Tom and Courtney, at a Zoom meeting we were having, and just sharing them. And Courtney came up with the idea that these might be good to show here. So I hope this is giving you positive accolades, guys, and not creating lobs in your direction as well. But these show how maps are made, just like they do show how prints are made, because it's all the same process. They were either etchings or engravings, and done many times by the same printmaking studio that makes artistic prints, as was the case with Abraham Boss. So Abraham Boss was this fantastic printmaker, but he had a studio, and he was not only a printmaker, but he was an author, and he wrote treatises on the techniques for etchings and engravings and how you, and the intaglio process, which is the way you transfer a inked copper plate image to paper. So these two images, this one produced in 1643, and the next one, which will be the second one in 1642, show the process. And so I've applied some dots here and we can go through them. And actually, I was wondering, as a French scholar, whether Courtney would pronounce I love the way Courtney speaks French, and that title below the image actually says the etchers and the etcher and the engraver, or vice versa. And I think it's the etcher and the engraver. And Courtney, can you say how it's pronounced?
I'll try. I don't have strong enough glasses. I think it says graveurs en taille douce, au beurre et à l'eau forte. I'm sure someone else speaks French better than I on this call.
Oh,
that was a valiant effort.
Oh, that is terrific. I hadn't heard her say that before, and it's great. So anyway, so on the left-hand side is an etcher. On the right-hand side is an engraver. And I can take you through the numbers and what they're doing to impart the art onto a copper plate. The person at number one, the etcher, he's got what looks like a black thing in front of him that he's working on. And the reason it's black is it has what's called ground on it. Ground is a material that resists the effect of acid. So everywhere, and the etcher is using a little needle-like instrument to scratch the ground away where he wants the image to be. And of course, an etcher and an engraver are working in reverse, because when they put the plate to paper, the image will be reversed because it's, you know, back, it's left to right reversed. So what they wanted, so he's drawing in reverse of what he wants the eventual thing to be. And when they put this plate with the scratches in it in the ground into acid, then the acid bites into the plate, leaving those little indentations where he scratched, and everything else was protected from the acid by the residual ground. So, I mean, and then number two, which is the engraver, he's also working on a copper plate, and he's using a tool called a burin, B-U-R-I-N, which you can see in the title just below, pronounced very nicely by Courtney. That he's actually, he has a little harder job because he's scratching that copper plate with the tool, again in a reverse direction from what he wants the eventual image to look like. So he's scratching away, and there are different forms of engraving. There's dry point, where they leave a little bit, it's a different tool, and they leave a little burr along where he scratched, and that makes the lines a little fuzzy, which is something they might want. So he's using a regular burin, which just leaves deep lines in the copper plate. And number three is the image that the etcher is using as his model. It's a painting that he's using as the model for what he wants to be on that copper plate and eventually on the paper. And number four is the image, the painting that the engraver is using as a model. And there you go. And don't forget, these are etchings that Abraham Boss actually did in 1643. So this is from 1643. I have the original on my desk behind me. In number 5 is some of the materials they use. That's the ground, the black material that the etcher has on the copper plate. And the little tool, that little funnel-like thing, is how he gets it onto the copper plate, right next to the containers. And then behind, well, let's see, can you go to number 6?
That's the print buyer.
Yeah, this is an aristocratic print buyer who's considering purchasing some finished prints. And then number 7 shows 2 Franciscan or Capuchin monks who are looking at religious scenes. They wouldn't look at the other things, but they're considering buying some religious scenes. And this is an interesting, number 8 and number 9 show what looks like a tear in the image, but it's not actually a tear. Those are cracks that occurred in the copper plate before they actually printed. So the defect is imparted to the paper because it's a crack. You know, it was a mishandled plate, I guess, and the crack forevermore will be showing up in the print. So can you go on to the next one, which was actually number 1. So this is what happens after you have a copper plate with the image on it. This is also Abraham Boss's his own printmaking studio, where you have several workers. Number 1, you can see, is putting on with that tool in his right hand. He's applying ink to the copper plate that either the etcher or the engraver has finished. Number 2 is a man rubbing off ink from all portions. He's got a rag in his left hand, and he also rubs with his palm of his hand. He rubs the ink off the plate, leaving the residual ink in the grooves in the plate, so that they will be imparted to the paper. Number 3, once that's all done, the plate is put on a table as part of the printing material, the printing tool. Number 4, and then slightly damp paper is put on that, and then there's a cloth over that, and this guy is applying pressure, and he's also pushing that through that little platform through the printing press to push the ink onto the damp paper. Number 5 is just some supplies up on that shelf on the upper right of it's up to the upper right. There we go. Some supplies. It's things that would be used in this process. Number 6 shows the paper that they've gotten from some paper maker. Yeah, there you go. Number 7 shows some damp paper with the ink now applied that's drying on a line. Number 8 shows the dried prints still up on the wall. And number 9 is just it's a container on the left-hand side of ink and another one of those tools that the person uses to apply the ink to the copper plate. So this is how it was done. And it was done for centuries this way, both for maps and artistic prints. It's all the same process. And, Blau and all those families who we all know from map making history, also were printmaking studios for artistic prints as well, and for books.
Thank you.
So, there you go.
Thank you.